Hello everyone, and welcome to a Roblox scripting tutorial. Today I'm going to be doing part 1 in how to make an adventure game in Roblox. Today we're going to be covering NPC dialogue, so you could have like NPC chat or whatever. You don't have to use this just for an RPG, this is just a general tutorial. Also, for those of you who, like me when I first started scripting, get heart attacks, mini heart attacks when they first see something they don't have. This gridded base plate is just to look nice. It doesn't actually do anything. I just put textures on the base plate to make it look better and look more tutorial-y, if that makes sense. So let's just get straight into making our NPC. So what you're going to want to do is up here you're going to want to select your plugins, and by default you will have these two plugins pre-downloaded. What I'm going to do, you can do anything you like for getting your character, but what I'm going to do is just get one from here. I'm just going to name this character, and that's just going to be what we use as our little character who you can talk to. So now we need to find the spawn point. We're just going to put him like right next to it just so that we can spawn in and talk to him. So if you are going to use like a character from the toolbox, for example, you're going to have to make sure, let's look up character. You're going to have to make sure that when you load it in, it has a humanoid root part. If it does not have a humanoid root part, that's fine, but it's going to be a little more complicated to make. So for example, if we pull up this guy, he has a humanoid root part, meaning we could totally make him. So you're just going to have to make sure that your character has a humanoid root part. Alright, so let's get to actual scripting. Well, actually, we're not going to do that yet. We have a little bit of just extra stuff we need to do before we script. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make a folder in our workspace. We're going to want to rename it NPCs. And we're going to want to put our character into it. This is just to make it so that we can have like multiple characters you can talk to later. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go into the starter GUI. We're going to want to insert a screen GUI. We're going to name it text. And we are going to insert a frame. We are going to... So this is super important. If you want your game to be compatible with all different kinds of platforms, what you're going to need to do, and all different screen sizes, what you're going to need to do is you're going to want to remove all of this offset. This is terrible because what will happen is, let's say we have 100 offset, it will not scale with the size of your screen. So if you have a really small screen, the GUI might be massive, and we don't want that. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make the offsets in your X and Y sizes 0, and you're going to want to make your X size completely 1, which means it'll go across the whole screen, and you're going to want to make your Y 0.1, so it'll look something like this. You can customize all of this. This is totally up to you if you want this to look different. And next, you're going to want to have your Y be 0.05 on the scale, so now it should look a bit like this. Now you're going to want to go over here, leave the background color as it is, set the border size pixel to 5, or as I said, you can customize all of this. This is just what I'm going to do. And now you're going to want to make the border black. So that looks really good. That's just a nice little, that's what our text is going to look like. So now we are going to want to insert a text label into this. We're going to name this in a text box. We're going to want to insert a text label. So we are going to go ahead and name this text. And again, we're going to remove all of the offset here, and we're going to give it a full one size so that it takes up the whole screen. And you can either do text scaled to make it fit perfectly into your text box, or you can change your text size manually. I prefer to do that because it's weird when it's huge like that. So I like to do about 55 size for this because it looks just like this, and that looks good. You can choose any font. I'm just going to choose fantasy here because that's kind of what I'm going for. You're going to want to move all the text so that it's completely blank. And now you are going to go ahead and add text buttons into the text GUI. So you're going to want to name this one continue. And now we're going to again want to go ahead and remove all the offset in the size. We're going to want to give it a 0.2 scale and a 0.1 scale. I'm actually going to make that a 0.25 scale. And now over at position, we are going to make the scale 0.5. And we're going to make the Y scale, not rotation, we're going to make the Y scale not 0.5, that's really high. Or not high, low. I'm not gonna do exact numbers. We're just gonna mess around here and see what looks good. Alright, so I'm thinking I can't talk. So I'm thinking something like this. So we're going to make the color, or the background color of this button green. We're gonna try to get a perfect 255 green. You know what? I'll just remove all the red. We'll make a perfect green. There we go. And now we are going to go down to the text. We're going to do text scaled, and we're going to make the text continue. We're also going to change the font on this. I'm going to use my personal favorite font, the sci-fi font, because I just think it looks the best. And then and that's going to be what this button looks like. Next, we're going to want to go ahead and duplicate the button. We're going to rename this one close, and we're going to go up to its position and make it a little less far, something like 0.3, if you're going for the exact numbers I am. And then you're going to want to come down, and then you're going to want to scroll up, make the background color red, like the perfect red. Going to remove all the blue in that. There we go. And then we're going to name this one close. Alright, so now we have what our little text GUI is going to look like. So now what we need to do is actually get to the scripting. Alright, so actually we do need to do a little more, now that I think about it. So you're going to want to go to the GUI, and you're going to want to make enabled on it false. And now what you're going to want to do is you want to go to your character, and you're going to want to insert a part into it, just a standard part. And we're going to name this teleport part. And we are going to put it just in front of the character. Make sure that this part is 100% invisible and has can't glide off. Make sure it's also anchored so it stays in the air. Now we need to get to the actual scripting. So what you're going to want to do is in the starter GUI, you're going to want to add a local script. So actually this teleport part up here is optional. We'll worry about that later. So what you're going to want to do for this local script is you're going to want to make wait 1, and then you're going to want to make some locals. Local, we're going to do local NPCs equals game dot workspace dot NPCs, and then we're going to want to do local character equals game dot workspace well, actually you are going to want to do game dot workspace dot NPCs dot character, because what that means is we can get autocompletes from the character. And if you do it from the NPC's local, you won't get those autocompletes. And then we're going to want to do local humanoid root part equals game.workspace.npcs character dot humanoid root part. Also, we are actually going to need to add one more thing to the humanoid root part. Sorry about this. This is why we need the humanoid root part. We're going to want to go ahead and insert a click detector into it. You don't have to name this or anything. I'm not going to name it here. It's just going to be called click detector. Now we're going to make one last local click detector equals game.workspace.npcs.character humanoid root part .click detector. So now what we're going to want to do is go and say click detector dot mouse click connect function turn insert off, and then we're just going to want to put our script in here. So what we're going to want to do is add script dot parent dot text dot frame dot text dot enabled actually equals true. And then what we're going to want to do here is just, so there's actually two ways to do this. One of them is a little bit harder, and we're not going to be covering that one. But that one makes your code cleaner, but we're not going to worry about that for now. I might cover that in an advanced version of this tutorial, but it is a considerable amount more complicated. So right now, we're just going to do it all from in here. So what we need to do now is we're going to need to declare some new locals. So local text equals script.parent.text. Local frame equals script.parent.text.frame. And then we're going to want to do local. Well, actually, we're going to name this local text. Actually, yeah. And then we'll do local text label equals script dot parent dot text dot frame dot text. And then we're going to do local continue equals script dot parent dot text dot continue. And then local close equals script dot parent dot text dot close. Alright, there we go. These are all the locals we need to declare before we can get into the text part. So what we're going to want to write here is we are going to want to write text label dot text. Now there's two ways to do this. You could either just write text label dot text equals hello world, and that would be that for the text. Or if you're feeling like making this a lot more tedious but a lot prettier, what you can do is you can do text label dot text equals, and then the first letter of your word, and then you could do a weight 0.01, and then you could do the second letter. So I'm actually going to go for this method. If you want to go for the simpler method, that is completely fine. It looks great either way, but this just gives it that little extra oomph of adventureness. Like, you know, you don't hear somebody say all of their words at once. So if you do want to make like your adventure game just stick out a little more than other adventure games, you can go ahead and do this, because that'll just give it that little oomph of like quality. So I'm going to speed up me doing this because this is really boring. Alright, and once you have your wall of text right here, quite literally, you're going to want to come down here, and you're going to want to make something, and you're going to want to go ahead and go over to your continue and close buttons, and you're going to want to make them invisible. Basically what this means is you can't just instantly continue through the text before the character is even done talking. Alright, so what we need to add now is going to be a little bit weird. Well, not a little bit weird. What we're going to want to do is also at the start of this, we're going to want to do close.visible equals false. Oops. Equals false. Continue.visible equals false. So then we're going to want to come down here and we're going to want to do close.visible equals true. Continue.visible equals true. So what we're going to want to do is close.mouse button one click connect function. And then you're going to want to put in here text.enabled equals false. And then you're going to want to come over here and do continue.mouse button one click connect function. Whatever this bracket combination is that I don't have a name for. And what you're going to want to put in here is close.visible equals false, continue.visible equals false. And after that, you're going to want to add more text, so time-lapse time. Alright, so once you have your gorgeous shameless plug like I just made, you're going to want to go ahead and add continue.visible equals false. You don't actually have to reacquire that. I just like to do that to make the code more readable. Close.visible equals true. And then you're just going to want to scroll up and copy your close click text up here. And you're going to want to put it down here. And this should be your script. So I'm going to go ahead and tab everything up there just to make my code more readable. You don't have to do that. It's just my personal preference, honestly. So, hang on. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and test the game. Assuming I did everything right, that should work. Alright, so let's click on our guy. Hello world. Subscribe to Nat McKay. You can close it. Also close the text box. And that is the first, and then that's pretty much it. Although we do have a little more to do. Now this part of the video is optional. Although you should make the humanoid root part 100% invisible. Assuming your character isn't blocky, then you don't have to. But it's still a good idea to do it, just in case you decide to change your character's rig. Not rig. I don't know if I'm using the correct terminology. In case you try to change your in case you decide to change your character to not be blocky, and you're gonna just want to make the humanoid root part completely invisible. And so the final thing that is completely optional to do, this adds a little bit more complicity to the script, but it's no big deal, is you're going to want to go ahead and add a part, and you're going to want to insert this into your character. And then you're going to want to make this invisible, you're going to want to anchor it, and you're going to turn Camp Glide off. You're going to want to name this teleport part. And what this will do is, if you want to add it, you don't have to, and in some cases it's actually better to not add this, depending on the kind of game you're making. We're going to go ahead and make this smaller so that it's kind of a point. There we go. What this is going to do is going to be a part that we teleport to after finishing the dialogue of the character. So what we're going to want to do is, because this is a local script, teleporting wouldn't exactly be a good idea from that, because then the server and the client would be arguing with the player's position. So what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to use remote events. So what a remote event is something that lets the client communicate with the server, or the other way around, meaning that if, let's say, we have a local script here and we want to do something on the server on a normal script, we can use a remote event. So what we're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a remote event into your text GUI. Well, actually, better to add it into the local script, actually. And you're going to want to go into your local script again, and you're going to want to make a new local at the start. It's called local remote event script.parent.remote event. Not script.parent, script.remote event. I'm sorry. And then you're going to want to scroll down, and you're going to want to make it so that whenever the close button is pressed, remote event fire server. And you're going to want to do this whenever the close button is pressed. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and add a script into your local script. That's scriptception, I know. And you're just going to want to rename this teleport. So we're going to make a wait one at the start of this, as I do. The reason I put wait ones at the start of my scripts is because a lot of scripters will make an error where they don't add that, and things won't load in before the script runs, and the script won't be able to get it, and it'll lead to just a permanent error. We don't want that. Just add a wait one. It'll fix the entire error. So what we're going to want to do is local event equals script.parent.remote event, and then event on server event connect function. You want to do your little function thing again, and you're just going to want to do well, actually you need to get player from that. Let's see, there we go. And you're just going to want to do local physical player equals game dot workspace find first child player dot name, and you're going to do physical player dot head dot position equals game dot workspace dot npcs dot character dot teleport part dot position. So, assuming I scripted that correctly, it should teleport us when we talk to the guy. Alright, so let's go ahead and test our scripts. We'll, walk over here, and then we'll click the close button. Alright, I made an error. Let's see what happened here. Teleport part is not a valid member of Roblox script signal. Hang on, let me check my script. Okay, I accidentally did child added instead of character, because I did the default C, so we're just going to do character teleport part dot position. I'm sorry about that. That's a really silly error on my part. If you made that error, that is totally my bad. So if I click close, it probably did teleport. me there. Let's go over here. No? Hang on, let me take a look at this. Alright, so super simple error. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to replace head with humanoid. Root part has to be spelled exactly like that, just like the humanoid root part in our character. So if we go ahead and try this again, and we talk to our NPC, and we walk over here, you know, continue through the dialogue, press close, it'll teleport us back over here, just to make sure that, you know, we're standing next to the NPC when we stop talking to him. You can also map that to the continue button pretty simply. I'm not going to show you how to do that because it's quite simple. And that's going to actually wrap up the part 1 of this tutorial. So if you all enjoyed this episode of How to Make an Adventure Game, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will definitely do a part 2 to this tutorial. I will see you all later. Goodbye.